What's up, adventurers? How's it going? It's been a while since we've had a Craft and Chat live or any live stream of any kind here at Short Rest Studios. Just wanted to say thank you for joining me. It's been a crazy few weeks. Started a new seasonal job, just trying to make ends meet around here this time of year. If you enjoy the content here on Short Rest Studios, please don't forget to, if you're watching on YouTube, hit that join button. Your financial support really helps me to continue creating great content for you. And of course, you can also visit patreon.com/shortreststudios and subscribe on Twitch. So today we are going to start painting, because I don't know how long this is going to take me. This incredible Headless Horseman statue. Now, if you notice, the Headless Horseman is not really a horseman. He is a centaur. He's a horseman. So he's also got a little detachable pumpkin head, which you can either put on his neck. I guess I could have glued that on, but it clearly is not intended to be that way, because you can see you probably can't right now, but you can see where his head was cut off, and it's pretty gross. But there's a ton of fun details on this, from this old dead tree, muddy ground, pumpkins, rotting pumpkins all over the ground, the crow, which incidentally, this crow keeps breaking off here, or raven, whatever it is, and it fits his legs a few times, so his legs are kind of funky. Don't look too close at the raven's legs, but and there's skulls in the ground. And also one of my favorite details, which I'll show you in a little bit when we switch over to the tabletop view, is he's got 5 heads just hanging on the back of his just hanging there. He's got 5 heads, and of course it's pumpkin. So it's got a really cool scythe. It's got a nice clawed hand there. All right, so this is for how I've had this thing for 2-3 years. Let me go ahead and switch over. So pull down the work light, and which is going to be probably right in front of my face on camera, but we'll go ahead and switch over to the tabletop. And it looks like I may need to now adjust my camera a bit. I got a couple of different spots where I can adjust it here, so I just want to make sure that you guys can see. There we go. That's a little better. And that it's more or less straight. Now that I've done that, twist that a little bit. Okay, now I'm going to slide my mat over a bit. It's always I don't have usually really a dedicated craft space, so it's always a little fun to get things set up the way that I need them. Let's see, I'm going to slide this light back just a little, so you can see there are some really cool, I don't know if I'm going to need to use my close-up view for this guy, but there's some really cool details. He's got this cool armor on his shoulders. He's got, and you can see here, the heads, one of which is just a skull with like a nail in it. A couple of them have nails in them. Yeah, pumpkins. Let's see, you get your rotting pumpkin over here on the ground. This is just it's a really beautifully detailed statue. And of course, I'm sure you can still get this from loot. I've had it for a couple of years. I actually printed it, I think it was about 3 years ago, really. And yeah, I just never Never painted it. I found too many other things to paint, so I thought it'd be great for this Halloween season to paint this guy up. And of course, you take a look at his pumpkin head. I'm gonna attempt. I'm not very good at stuff like object source lighting, but I'm gonna attempt to make his eyes and mouth look like they have like a green, unearthly glow about them, and so I might try to do a little OSL, but I don't know if we'll get to that today. I'm planning on doing this today and next week, and I know if you're watching on Twitch, next week says it's going to be from 4 to 6, but that's because Twitch only lets me schedule things that way. I can't just say, hey, Twitch, I'm going to do it this time, this day, and this time, this day. I have to schedule it every Sunday at the same time. So, but I will, I'll adjust the schedule after today so that everybody can tell what's going on. I'm also here trying to make sure that I can just kind of see everything that I want to see, that I need to see. That's not what I'm going to do. There we go. Come on. Now I can't get my chat window back. Okay, well, it's okay. I can see it over here. All right. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to start painting the horse's body. My plan is the horse is going to be black. His horse parts are going to be black because we want him to be, you know, spooky. And that seems appropriate. And I'm going to paint his cape green and maybe like a dark kind of red for his sleeves and stuff, because he's actually wearing armor here. So the cape's going to be green. And then we'll just kind of see where we get to today. So let's get started. So yeah, first thing I'm going to do. So he actually is primed black. So I think what I'm going to do is skip a step. So what I would do, of course, is highlight or paint the whole thing with the base color. But since he's primed black, I'm going to start with something else. And what I'm going to do here is actually, I'm going to put a little bit of this Stonewall Gray because I want to use this as a, I'm going to need it, so eventually, but I want to use it as a comparison for what I'm about to do. I'm going to mix some black and white to get a darker shade of gray. Because what I'm going to do then is, and I am going to need a lot of it, is I'm basically going to create some levels of highlight here, and just consider the prime coat as the base layer coat. And you know, if you're not like super experienced with this stuff, it takes a lot of white to lighten up black paint, and not very much black. I'm just trying to get it mixed up good. It's a little bit darker than my Stonewall Gray, but I think I want it to be a little darker than this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint it. I'm going to basically do sort of the large highlights with this darker gray that I'm making, and then I'm going to do like some edge highlighting with the Stonewall Gray, and then I'm going to wash it probably with black ink. And so what that's going to do is he's going to be really dark, but he's still going to have highlights and, you know, texture and the color and all that. So this is probably good. I just got so much paint here, it's just taking forever to mix it all up. So want to get a good solid coat. In case you're wondering, I actually got some great advice from a friend, because I've always felt like thinning paint is kind of not really subjective, but you kind of have to feel it out. It's like driving stick. If you've ever driven a stick, a standard transmission. For those of you who don't know what that means, because these days everybody's got an automatic transmission. I'm going to put a glove on so that I can handle this and not rub the paint off. But you just kind of have to feel it, like when you get it right. But a friend of mine basically said, like, if the paint mounds up, it's too thick, and if it spreads out, it's too thin. You just want it somewhere in the middle. Okay. Oh, that was good. That was a slick move right there. I don't know if I could have done that if I tried to. So I think I'm just gonna have to wash my brush out now because I got paint all over when I did that just then. So okay. Excuse me. Allergies are running rampant lately. I'm gonna have to move the mic away from me a little bit so you guys let me know in the chat if you can't hear me. Okay, but I gotta move it away a little bit or I'm gonna be banging my hand into it. And yeah, this guy's really big, but I still like to use my magnifier because I can get in tight on those details. And I'm gonna try to avoid getting much in places I don't want it, but you know, if I get some on the cape, that's okay. Now, one of the things I'm going to do here, like this right here, and I want to try to leave okay, that's a lot of paint. Okay, so basically what I'm trying to do is highlight, like, oh goodness, the big flat areas and leave a little bit of gap where there are recesses, including like leaving a little bit of gap, like right at the edge of the armor or the cape. I'm gonna try to get around these little. The horse has like scars and little pitted areas and things like that, and so I want to try not to get too much in those. Like right, if you can see that right there where I'm painting. There are some like little holes in his horse flesh, and I'm trying to avoid those, but I'm not going to sweat it a whole lot because I will be using that wash later. And that is another that's another point to make too. Like, you don't have to be so precise with this stuff when you're going to use that wash, because it's really going to help blend things together. So I'm going to kind of come down here. I'm not going to go all the way down. I'm just going to try to make it kind of an organic kind of shape. And like right here is a good spot. Like, I want to make sure that I leave. And this isn't the best print either. This is one of my first prints, and so it doesn't necessarily all come out great, but it's still fun. And plus, you can see that I put it together. I put the tree on without. I didn't really do it right, but it's a fun piece. So this to be able to see. I think you can actually see this piece better if I zoom out. Okay. And so I'm just trying to get areas that, right now I'm not worried so much about lighting as I am just the bigger areas and the recesses. Okay, and you notice he's like, this horse is kind of, the horse part of this guy is kind of Clydesdale-like, so he's got like hairy, like a little extra hair at the top of his hooves kind of stuff, which will mess with that detail too. And the hooves we're going to do later, because it'll be kind of their own technique. I might go ahead and paint that in a bit. And then you can see this is where this horse, he's not as defined as some. Make sure I got, like, he doesn't have as much musculature as some minis like this horse statues would, but he does have a little bit. So, and you can see I'm just leaving gaps. I'm leaving those gaps on purpose. Man. Really having trouble with overloading my brush today, guys. Okay. That's good. I'm going to try to get in fairly close here, but again, I don't want to get, I want to leave a gap. Where the horse flesh meets the armor. That'll just help create some definition later. You can see on his front legs he has armor, as I was just alluding to. And he's got, like, the interesting thing about this is, I think he's just got like these massive horseshoes, like armored horseshoes. So really, I'm not going to be painting these like there is hooves. I'm just going to be painting horseshoes. I think I just realized that for the first time. Like, I don't know, I just thought it was some horrific, you know, he just had nails on his feet, but apparently all of that hoof that you can see is actually horseshoe. So, yeah. All right. And man, I'm feeling like maybe I need to use a smaller brush for some of this. Okay. He's got like these his little joints here. I think all the rest of that can maybe stay black. Just get a little bit in there. Look at this, he's got a nail through his foot right there. Boot Studios really does some cool like detail stuff. That's really neat. Sometimes it makes their minis very hard to paint just because they have so much detail. This guy is pretty neat. And as always, painting something larger like this is in many ways much easier. In some ways it's not, because it takes like forever. It takes a lot longer. Than painting something small, but it's a lot easier to get the details in. And I think you can kind of begin to see what I'm going for here with this technique, because painting black, to me, like painting stuff black is actually pretty hard. Like you have to get the you got to get this highlighting and stuff down, because you can't just paint it black, right? It's not gonna look like anything. Okay. I actually think I can probably just go on in here, and we've got, yeah, and you can see there's a line there too, because I had to glue the top half of his body on. So I'm going to try to minimize that as I paint it, but again, I have this tendency to sometimes not care about those things, like the extra little, I'll fill the gaps, and, because I just want to get to painting, because painting is the part I really, really love. And so sometimes it's hard for me to convince myself to do all that little extra stuff. I'm going to do a little bit more of this in the front, just because I'm going to spend a little more time getting more of this filled in the front, just because I'm trying to think about it like in terms of lighting is coming from this direction, so that like a 45-degree angle, so that this front part is really going to be more lit, which probably means I should get some more of this. And again, this doesn't have to be super precise. Did the freaking that thing's still wiggling? the Raven just broke. I cannot keep that thing on there. Like, I've put it on with resin and everything, super glue, anything I can think of, and he will not stay. And he was actually part of that piece in the print. So, but I'm just gonna have to figure out something with that guy. So we're gonna do a whole lot of painting gray today, guys. In case you hadn't figured that out already. A couple of different shades of gray. Try to get that in there. Okay. I don't get too much gray down here, just because it's not gonna be lit up too well, but we're gonna have to get some. And now we gotta work on this other legs more. I do kind of want to just, once again, this is actually a highlight, but it's not the main, it's not like the tight detail highlight. It's the getting in there, yeah. I got some on his cape, or his clothing, which I wanted to try to avoid. And yes, I purposely lightly went over that area with the like pock marks, scars, whatever you want to call them, because same reason I did before. I don't want those areas. I want them to be a little more shadowed. I don't want them to be highlighted, so. What is that? Something's stuck in the end of my brush there. There we go. You guys are probably out there going, man, that was there the whole time. Can't believe you didn't see that. Trying to get in. Have some decent brush control here. I don't want the gaps to be like super huge, you know? But I want to make sure that there are gaps. This one I want to get a little bit closer. Okay. All right. And now I'm going to get his back leg. Here. Which I do want to make sure I kind of get this area pretty good because, again, this is the light's coming from the front, right? So. Some of these, I said, I almost did like a dry brush move there. I'm just going really lightly over those little areas. I know you see that. I'm going to fix that because that's not quite the way I want that to be. And I'm probably going to leave a lot of that black that I might not in other areas just because it's going to be in shadow down there. So it would be natural for a lot of this to appear very black, right? Okay. I'm gonna get some on his cape there. There's really not a lot I can do about that. I am going to paint his entire tail with this gray. So what I'll do is paint his whole tail with this gray, and then I'll come back and hit it with this. I'll highlight it a lot with the same highlight color that I'm doing the edge highlights on the rest of his body. And then I'll wash this whole thing with the black also. And so it'll look a little bit brighter than the rest of his body. And she's got black paint on the tree, or gray paint on the tree, which is will live. Sometimes it is very hard to get, you know, in some of these little recesses and around these corners and stuff. Keeping an eye out to see if anyone joins the chat. I know there's some folks watching, so I appreciate you being here. Please feel free to send any questions, comments. It's been a while since I did one of these. I'm not an expert painter by any means. So if you got any really detailed questions regarding painting, I may not be able to answer them. I might be able to. But if you got questions about role-playing games, GMing, there went the... Yeah, we're going to have to fix that guy. Man, I mean, I seriously have done everything I could think of to do to try to get him reattached. We'll figure something out. Because he broke off there a long time ago. Okay, I think I got the whole tail. A little tricky just because it's kind of hidden, you know. Some of it behind the tree and underneath and everything. Okay. I gotta figure out what to do with the underside, his belly and everything too. I'm not entirely sure what I want to do there. Because there's part of me that's like, he's, you know, that part of his body is in shadow, right? I mean, maybe not. I mean, even there it is. Once again, I'm probably going to leave more stuff in shadow down here. Then I will in other areas of his body just because of the sort of natural darkness there. I think this might be all I want to do here. I think I got the back legs. Let's see. Just kind of want to. There's a little bit of, texture here that I feel like if I get too into this, I'm gonna do too much, and then it's not gonna be right. Still a lot of paint there. Okay, so I think we'll come through here. We're gonna leave a little bit of gap. Around the leg, going up in there. You can kind of see his ribs here. In addition to all those lines from the terrible job I did printing this. Okay. So yeah, we will get most of this horse body gray. Most of it will be gray. But a good deal of it won't be. I'm just kind of taking a little look around right now just to see if there's anything I missed that I want to get before I hit that next. The other side of his chest and everything. His horse chest. He's got two chests. How does that work, guys? Centaurs, we really didn't think about their physiology very well, didn't we? I mean, does he have multiple digestive systems, multiple circulatory systems, all that kind of stuff, dude? Like, what? Anyway. These are the kinds of things you think about. Oh, I just covered up those holes. That's okay. These are the kind of things you think about when you have to fill 2 hours talking to people on a live stream. And you're painting a fantasy horse guy. I'm glad you guys are here with me today. This guy's gonna be really cool. I mean, even despite and I did not remember it being this bad, the quality of the print, but that is not Loot Studio's fault. That is my fault, because when I printed this guy, I did not know what I was doing. I think I was just excited that it printed at all, to be honest, at the time. Okay. All right. You can kind of see what we're going for here. And you'd be able to see it a lot more if like this was just a horse and he was all black. Yeah, and this Raven Crow guy is going to be an issue for me. From now until the end of eternity. So I have one of those I have a little resin pen that you can sort of squeeze resin on there, and it's got a little UV light on the other end, which you can then use to you know, fill cracks and repair breaks and resin prints. And I use that, but I've also tried super gluing it back together multiple times, and you see I got a big blob of resin here, and that's from the pen. So I want to just real quick see if I can maybe just glue him back on one more time. One more time and see how that goes, and just try to avoid touching him for the time being while I'm painting other things. So just remember, folks, that you cannot use plastic glue on a resin. I think it's working. You might think it's working. Like, oh, it's kind of sticking, and then you pick it up and it comes right off. Come on. And of course, super glue sometimes is awesome and sometimes is not. Part of the problem here is I can't actually figure out the right angle to put him on here. Like there's not any position at which he really feels stable. You know what I mean? Like usually you can sort of finagle it around and you're like, okay, this is where he's stable, this is the position he goes in. But with this one, I just have never really been able to get him on here right. This is the fun part. You guys get to watch glue dry. It's even more fun than watching paint dry. Come on. I want to move on. I don't want to sit here. It's not setting at all. I think I'm just going to have to hope that stays. I love it when I forget to pull the magnifier out of the way when I'm trying to drink some water. Okay. So with that done, I think I'm going to get, I think I'm actually going to use my smaller brush here. Going to use my, okay, so just remember that when you buy paint brushes, the numbering system is not consistent. These are both number 2 brushes. Okay. And this is going to make this take longer, but you know, it is what it is. So I'm just kind of looking at where the most raised parts are, you know, and best to it. So now this brush, of course, I have to reload it more, and I often have to remind myself of that because it just doesn't hold as much paint as the big one. You can see that's a little... That is definitely a brighter gray, right? And this is looking, this isn't going to look fantastic yet. I'm trying to sort of follow the lines of the horse's body and musculature. Need more water. So he's got like some little scars and things through here. And I'm going to try to remind myself to spend a little bit less time on these highlights back here, just because they're not in the light, dude. They're not in the light. Okay. I'm just trying to see what I can get done here. Okay. Sky. just tilting it at a 45-degree angle to the light. I'm just kind of looking at where the light is hitting in the most. And these highlights are going to look really stark, okay? Because I'm not doing your traditional like blending and layering to get highlights right. That's going to look weird. Because when I put the black over it, it's really going to change how this looks. Just got a little bit of highlight right there. Normally these highlights you would try to like, yeah, blend them in a little better, but also I'm kind of trying to hit a little bit of this. I'm not going to come in and like specifically try to hit every hair down there. But I'm trying to hit a little bit of it just to give it a bit more definition later on. I just have a, like I said, a tendency to try to keep going when there's no paint left on the brush. And really the whole point here is just to try to highlight some of these brighter or higher spots, like this. And then the ribs under here, just to give them a bit of definition. And you get there here too, but you can't see them as well. I'm just going to get a little bit there just to... That's a good thing that's where I needed. And got this little like scar right here. I try to get a little bit of highlight around, at least around scars like that. And this is where it's going to get tricky again. I did a terrible job on this. I didn't clean up the... I had already primed this guy. And you may have noticed, if you saw the photo I posted on social media earlier, yesterday, I think, that it had like an early attempt at doing some, call it, now I've totally forgotten what it's called. My mind's going blank. Gosh, where I put a little bit of light on it to tell me, or white on it to give me an idea where the light was coming from. Jeez, I can't talk, guys. And I actually splashed another coat of black on it just to get rid of that, because I didn't do a very good job of it. But that, other than that, I literally, this thing has been printed and primed, sitting in a cabinet for ages. And I just never painted it, because there are some things I would have done to it first. Now, knowing knowing things a little better than I used to. Follow this line. Highlight the top of this a little bit, and this right here. I don't want to do too much of that, because this part of the body is going to be a little more in shadow. And once again, I'm just trying to have a little bit of this hair texture down here. And of course, when we hit it with the wash, it's going to bring out those details more and blend things together. And blend things together. Sorry, I got real quiet there, guys. Okay. I want to try to, like, I'm hitting these lines, but I don't want to leave, like, I want some of my intersections to be a little more organic, right? Okay. I need to do a little bit more here, like right here. And yes, this will all be in shadow, but at the same time, oh gosh, what I messed that one up. It'll be okay. This is not for competition, but at the same time, it'll be covered up quite a bit. And the rest of the horse's body, yeah, okay. All right, now. I'm gonna get my black ink. I forgot to pull it out. Okay. I do have a black wash prepared, but I don't want to use that. I'm going to use this black Vallejo Game ink. Because the ink, the pigments in the ink are very strong, and they will cover up and blend a lot. Look at that thing. I don't know why that keeps doing that. What's going on with this ink bottle, man? it's just, yeah, coming out everywhere. Look at that. It happens. Okay. What I'm going to do here, clean this big brush out a little more. I'm looking to cover everything on the horse body, on the horse parts of our Headless Horseman's body, okay? And so I'm going to work a lot of this in. And so what I'm attempting to do is to sort of cover everything, work it especially into the recesses, and try to keep it from getting too worked into the places I don't want it. And you can see already how much lighter it is right there. Where I put in those highlights. I do want it everywhere. I mean, that's the thing. I want it everywhere. But when we're done with this, and it takes this kind of stuff a little while to dry, so you see, can you see that? How much it blends all that in? You can definitely still see it, but it's not so stark. And I'm going to get it everywhere. I'm going to get it all on his underside and everywhere. Because not only, because the pigments are so concentrated that they will not just darken the lighter stuff, but they'll actually darken the black, the really dark parts as well. I just realized now that I'm doing this that I haven't done the highlights on the tail. So I really want to do that too. So I'll probably finish this up. And then hit the tail with the highlights. Wow, this ink is drying. And so this, I'm using it sort of like a wash or a glaze, maybe even. But the thing that it's doing is it's still giving you tons of, you're still getting a lot of texture and variation instead of just black. It's kind of like speed paints or contrast paints, if you're familiar with those. Not quite the same, but very similar. And in fact, at times, I mean, this is essentially like using a contrast paint, like the way you would use one. Yeah, my daughter's home. I don't know if you guys heard that. You should check out her Twitch stream, Lixie MC on Twitch. Right now she's working on Minecraft. She's done some other games too. She has a lot of fun. She yells a lot. kind of like watching anime, which she also enjoys. Okay, but you can see it, especially here in the very highlighted spots, how it is dark. Like, it is making it dark, but you can see the variation, and it's not as stark and it's not as well defined. You know, like before, it just kind of looked like maybe splotches of the light gray on top of the dark gray, and now it looks like just variations in color, slight variations in color, which is what you want. Because this guy is black, right? Now sometimes this, using this ink like this will make it kind of glossy. And maybe that's okay. Maybe you want that. Horses' coats tend to be very glossy anyway. But if you don't, you can hit it with some matte medium. And medium is just paint with no color, with no pigment. So if you hit it with matte medium, it's just basically like putting a coat of matte varnish or something on it. So it'll get rid of the gloss, but you'll still have all your colors underneath. Of course, also, when I seal this, I will seal it with a matte sealer. Tester's Dull Coat. Although the last batch I got, it's definitely Dull Coat, or it says it is on the label, but it's, I don't know. It looks too shiny to me. When I get done with this, we're going to do the same thing. To his tail, but on the tail, I still want to go in, and I haven't done the highlights yet. And I want to try to take a little more time and do some good highlights on there. So it's, you can definitely tell, like in person, it doesn't look just straight up. Like it looks black, but you can see the details better, for sure. So. Okay. Clean this guy off. Yeah. So I'm planning on doing this again next Sunday. Don't know if ever I will actually be able to finish it on the stream. So I may, if I have time, try to do a little work on him in between, and do a little work on him in between, so that you know, maybe I can, you know, man, I'm actually thinking I want to try to I think I'm going to use my little dry brush here, because there is a lot of detail on this tail, and I could do it by hand. It's going to take me a really long time. It would be easier if it were a smaller mini, to be honest, because it would have there would actually be less detail to paint. So using a texture palette here rather than just using a paper towel or a cloth or something like that. Because it really does help me get it's a lot easier to figure out the right amount of paint to have on your dry brush. And I'm using domed dry brushes also. I used to and still condone the use of cheap makeup brushes, like dollar store makeup brushes for dry brushing. I just decided that since I was really getting into painting more and I was going to be doing stuff like this, that I wanted to see if the experience of using domed dry brushes was actually better. And also, it was hard for me to find the sizes that I needed. Like I felt like I wanted to do some, I don't dry brush a lot on like miniatures, real miniatures for the tabletop. But every once in a while, I'd like to. And it can be, you know, if you don't have a tiny dry brush like this, a small dry brush like this, it's really hard. And with these is actually a lot easier to just a lot easier to get everywhere I need to and do what I'm trying to do. So this right here still feels a little thing is I do want to do, I'm actually thinking, you know, maybe I was thinking I might mix a little white and lighten this up a little more and get another layer of a lighter gray on here. And that will create a more of a dynamic between colors, between highlights and lowlights, right? I might just do that. Let's see. Because I don't have a lighter gray. I'll add a little bit of white to that. And if you guys have noticed, like if you've been following me doing live streams for any length of time, you may have, you know, seen like on YouTube, I posted that I was only going to do live streams on Twitch. And I'm doing one on YouTube today, in both places. So, but I'm really kind of trying to figure out how much of this live stream stuff I can put into my content creation, like that I actually have time for and the ability to do. And like I said, I started a new seasonal job a while ago, and that kind of, at least initially, kind of put a real damper on my ability to live stream. So, because I do want my regular YouTube content to still kind of take precedence. That's my primary content creation endeavor, let's say. Okay, you can see this is much of it. And that will help sort of differentiate sort of some different levels of highlights here. I'm going to do one more little thing here. I'm going to do a tad of white. So one thing about dry brushes, like you want to rinse the color out. And sometimes you can get by with, you know, especially if you're layering very similar colors, you can kind of get by with not rinsing the color out for a bit. But I don't know if you can see what I'm doing. I wipe it off on the paper towel and then I kind of brush it on my hand because I'm trying to see if I'm getting any water on my glove still a little bit. Okay, that's better because I want to not have any moisture in there. And I want to get off like almost all of this white. And you can see using the texture palette how I feel like I have a much better idea of how much I'm getting off of there. So what I want to do is right here at the tip of the tail, kind of those. And this is really going to, remember, this is really going to get toned down. So I'm kind of doing the tip of the tail and at the top here, where I feel like there would be the most light. I've just added a little bit of white. Okay, and now that I've done that, my original plan was to actually highlight that completely sort of manually, not with the dry brush. So, but okay, now I'm going to come back and get my black ink. Oh, kind of helps if you don't hit the camera, huh? And now I'm going to, oh, look, there's still some on the horse's body that wasn't done. You can really see it here because there's so much texture. And I used a couple of different shades. You can definitely see the textures in there. See, yeah, that's looking cool. If you ever think, you know, you don't want to try paint minis because you don't think you'd be very good at it, just watch somebody do this, because then you'll realize like it doesn't have to be as complicated, and doing something like this can really hide some mistakes unless somebody really knows what they're looking for. And I'm not submitting this for entry into an art contest. I'm not even putting this on the tabletop for a game. Unless I decide I need a giant headless centaur at some point. There we go. You can really see, you can see the highlights, man. All right. Now the raven is also black, but I think what I might actually do with him is do like, I think I may actually just like dry brush some, like have like a light purple, and then maybe put some, I don't know, something like that, and then do like a blue wash on them or something, because they tend to have a sort of a tinge, a different tinge to their feathers. Okay, let's go ahead. Oh, I didn't get my dark green. We got about 40 minutes. My dark green. Let's ink. Now this dark green that I'm going to use, if you guys are, if you guys remember from the stream where I painted my I think it was the beetles, the scarabs. It came out very, very dark. It's a green that comes out very, very dark. Almost black. So I actually got like 4 shades of green here. I'm not going to go super bright with this. I do have some brighter greens. I'm not going to go super bright. Having a little trouble finding what I was looking for. So we're going to start with this Vallejo model color refractive green as a base. And this is the thing about model colors as opposed to game colors. The game colors tend to be much brighter and more vibrant than the model color paints. So you can see already this is kind of like a almost like a dull army green. It's pretty dark though. Not quite as dark maybe as I was hoping. Of course, I also have like the black green ink, which maybe that's what I'm thinking of. I don't know. All right, so I'm doing this cape with this green. And then we will highlight with some brighter colors. I've got to figure out a way to minimize that. And I probably am going to want to do a couple of coats to minimize that seam, because I didn't do the proper prep on this guy. Again, I assembled and primed him a long time ago, a few years ago. I'm gonna do a couple of coats just to get this. Really good and covered, just looking really right, you know what I mean? This is actually a color that's going to be fairly easy to do that with. There are some colors like yellows and reds that do sometimes tend to be a little more translucent. But this is a very dense color, so. And you can see what I mean. Like this is like, it looks like a tank right? Coming at you, right? I'm going to paint the other underside of it too, the inside of the cape, this color as well. And basically I just won't highlight any of those areas. And I probably will get a little bit of this on these heads here. They're so detailed, I definitely want to wait. So here's the thing, there's like, he's actually got, I don't know if you can see this, but like, there's the cloak and then there's more underneath. I'm sort of thinking because I was going to do like his sleeves. He got like these padded sleeves and stuff under his armor. Then maybe I was going to do those in like a dark red. I might do this in that color too, rather than painting that green. I think that's what I'm going to do, just to kind of add a little bit of variation here. So I'll get this done. And I wanted to go ahead and get the body of the horse done first because I knew that's kind of a totally separate technique with the washing with the ink. And the rest of these I'm going to do more traditional, like layering and blending. So so that's why I'm, laugh. But I think what I'm going to do is base coat a lot of this, at least the cape and the clothing, before I then go back and highlight any particular one of them. Because in this case, the highlights are actually going to be on top. So. Yeah, I think I got the first coat. Oh no, I still got some with the dock top of them. Oh. This, so the collar up here is actually part of the cape. So all of this up here in the front is really part of the cape. That though looks like some kind of, that almost looks like a ribbon of something coming from somewhere else. So with all of this collar going up around his neck and here is all in the cape. So again, it's okay on these base coats to kind of get some color where you don't necessarily want it. Like, because you can see all these pieces, they're going to be more metal or leather or whatever, and I don't want to go out of my way to get this color on them, but it's sort of unavoidable. So, and frankly, I'm kind of okay if his like neck stump has a little bit of a green tinge to it. You know what I mean? Because he's like old and rotten. Okay. Now I gotta try to get the underside. Oh, I think I see some places I missed with the black ink too. One of the tricks to brush control, a couple of tricks, hold it down close as much as you can, but also find something to brace against. Like, have bad table manners, put your elbows on the table. Try not to do what I just did. And, you know, in this case, I can brace against the model. Sometimes I do that. I make too quick a movement or I miss something and I bump up against something I don't want. But if you make a mistake, you can always paint over it. And see this right here. Yeah, so that's going to be red. That little inside part's going to be red. And this is going to be red. And his sleeves are going to be red. Right here, this particular angle. Some of this is hard to paint with my hand braced against the model like I was doing. So that, you know, usually I want to brace my hand against my other hand, or in this case, because the model's so big, brace against it. It's gonna be cool. And if for some reason I cannot finish this, like get more work done on this before next Sunday and then finish it on the stream next Sunday, you can let me know. Let me know. YouTube chat, or come find me on socials. I'm on all the socials except I have a Twitter account. I'm not really, or X. I'm not really on there. I don't really get on it too much. I'm on Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, all that stuff. YouTube, of course. You can come on, message me, post me, whatever. Let me know if you want to see it anyway, even if I finish it after Halloween, which is a distinct possibility, guys. I'm not going to lie. Because I knew this was probably going to take longer than 2 sessions to paint. Because, at least because it is so big. Some of that's just flat out hard to get to, man. Yeah, just look for me, Short Rest Studios, on all the socials. My handles might be different on some of them, but you'll be able to find me. Sometimes it's just Short Rest, or The Short Rest, or Short Rest Studios. Well, like I said, I took on a part-time seasonal job recently to make ends meet. It was kind of it was a necessity. I'll be honest. Things are pretty tight. I've been looking for work for a while. And that is one reason why that if you decided to support me financially by joining my Patreon or joining the channel here on YouTube, it would mean a lot for me and my family. Patreon.com/ShoreWithStudios, or join on YouTube or subscribe on Twitch. But anyway, don't want to talk about that too much. It's coming together. Time for some more. It's too much paint. Yeah, I think 2 coats might actually do it. And I am gonna come back. Like, it's like I keep saying, like, the base coat I don't worry a whole lot about. Is that the... Okay, that's, yes. So all of that under the heads is going to be red, but I did miss a little spot right there. Okay. If you get a color in a place you don't mean to, that you haven't painted yet, don't worry about it. Sometimes, yeah, it can affect what the rest of your paint job looks like. Dang it, I did it again. This is part of the reason my live streams are only 2 hours, because after a while I'm just kind of like, come on, let's go. With the painting. Not necessarily with like hanging out with you guys, but just with the painting. Doing it hours at a time is difficult. One thing I actually could do with this is use my, kind of use a similar approach to what I did before, like some dark green. I have dark black green ink and I have green ink. And that green ink really is like, it's like emerald green, like it's a beautiful color. The inks really, really do create some gorgeous colors. And that black green is just a very, very dark green. So I could like wash one of those over this and really make it really vibrant, but I kind of want it, like I'm gonna have some touches of very vibrant colors in here, but I kind of want a lot of his raiment to be dark. And I am, like, his cape is gonna have a variety of highlights and stuff, so it's not just gonna be army green. In fact, by the time I get done with it, it will have more the appearance of a brighter color. And this, look, if you ever debate the necessity of multiple coats, this should prove it to you, because the color just looks so much deeper and complete and natural once the second coat is done. And also, I feel like for me personally, and for most of us, that most of the time, even if you think you got everything, you missed some spots. And so doing that second coat kind of helps you not. And this color, I think, yeah, you can definitely just do 2 coats. Some colors, like a yellow or a red, you're going to need to do multiple coats. Like sometimes, I don't know, 4 or 5, depending on the color. Everything on the outside of the cape. I'm realizing now that I didn't get this little bit underneath right here the first time. And I'm not going to sweat it a ton because it's going to be so hidden. Oh, and I'm realizing too, I think no, that's the cape, that's the cape. Okay. I thought maybe I had painted part of that little, I don't know, skirt, whatever you want to call it, under there with the green. I think that's pretty good, 2 coats. Now I'm going to go back and try to fix my couple of bumps against the black. And I think I can probably just get away with just putting some black on those. Worry too much about thinning it or anything because I'm gonna I know there was one over here. There it is. Because I'm using such a small amount. We got about 16 minutes. Can I do the red parts? I can at least get started on them, I think. So what I want to do is, not that one. Where is my dragon red? Somewhere around here I've got dragon red. It's really great. Dark red from Reaper. Now, you're going to notice right away, Reaper paints are a lot thinner than Vallejo paints. Still might need to thin it, but not nearly as much. So, the parts I'm going to paint red are this, this fabric under here, and the sleeves. So, get a little bit of water, and I may need to switch to, and you can tell already it's how much thinner it is. I may need to switch to my smaller brush at some point. We'll see. Okay, you can see, okay, there's too much. And it looks like I added a little too much water as well. So, now this is one of those colors that's going to dry much darker than what you see here. I'm just going to add a little drop of paint. And just to try to thicken it up a little bit. It's going to dry much darker. Like it's a powerful color, but it is not by any means bright. It's still kind of thin, but also, as I said, reds can tend to be more translucent, so we're probably going to need to do more than just a couple of coats with this color. I think I'm going to at least try somewhat to avoid doing too much up here with this brush on this color. once again, do not get this color on the horse's body. Don't really care if I get it on the armor. Don't want to get it on the horse's body. One more and try to get that one up here. This is also where it's going to get a little tricky trying to paint the underside of this, because I really don't want to get this on the horse's body again. But also, this color is going to dry so dark that if I don't go all the way up with it, I don't think you'll really be able to tell. Yeah, I'm sorry. Too low again. And losing my voice. I want to try to get a little more than that in there. I don't want to grab that raven again because I am not convinced that he's not just going to pop right off. Okay. I think I'm going to leave the back mostly alone now. You can see how much darker it's drying. So I'm just going to kind of spread that out a little bit. I'm going to go ahead and smell. Yeah, I think I might go ahead and switch brushes. Hopefully we can at least get a coat of red on all of these, so that you guys can kind of get a feel for where it's going. So, right here. Oh, look at that. I need to get some green in there. Now I try to be careful and only get up, not get off onto the horse's body here. Now you see, when I said red and green, you guys probably thought this is going to be the Headless Horseman of Christmas, huh? Yeah, you can totally see it's not. Once again, though, I want to try to be very careful. Not to get this anywhere I don't want it. Sure we don't have too much paint on that brush, because I gotta get in here. I'm probably gonna have to come back in. I probably should have done this first. But as you guys noticed when I started, I didn't realize that this was a separate piece. I got that pretty good. I might still come back and hit it with the very lightly with the green just to polish it up a bit. Yeah, I'm gonna highlight this with some other colors of red, and I I do have my bloody red out here, but I'm probably not going to use that to highlight this. I'm probably not going to go that bright with the red highlights, especially since there are going to be some other parts that I do want to be, you know, bloody. This is, after all, the Headless Horseman, right? I want this right here. Yeah, should have done this first. Accidentally got some of this on one of the heads. You probably can't see that because I keep moving. I need to move my microphone too. So. Trying real hard to keep this on camera, guys. Okay. I'm seeing the spots on the cape that I missed. And this part's a bit tricky. Just because of the angle with the tree right there. And the raven. And this person has long hair, so. Slow down. I gotta make myself slow down a little bit right here. Because I'm trying to fill that in, but then I start going so fast that I risk hitting the body of the horse. I keep saying that like it's a separate thing from the guy, but it's not. He's a centaur. I don't know if you know this, but centaurs are kind of a representation of like an ideal of war or combat or a warrior, because they have the mind and the intellect of a man, of a human, of a person, the body of a horse for, you know, those that speed and strength, and often depicted with a bow and arrow, which at the time of its invention was quite an advance in military technology. I don't know tons about this subject, but I just told you everything I know. So if you know more, let me know in the chat. Okay. How much time do we have? Just a few minutes. And again, I'm not worrying too much about getting in these little holes because they're supposed to be like rips in the surface, that kind of rips in the fabric, that kind of thing. So I'm not gonna sweat them too much, like trying to get the paint down in there. because they'll actually just show up better without it. I'm just trying to get at least the beginnings of the second coat on here so that you can get a better sense of what that red's going to look like when it's finished drying, because it is actually much more, I mean, it's deep and it's dark, but it's much more vibrant than it looks on that front piece where it's barely finished. Okay. Yeah, this part's just a bit tricky to get to. Which is why I smacked this dude right here in the eyeball with the red paint. So. See what that looks like? That is cool. That is cool. I'm trying really hard. I'm having a hard time seeing because that was actually the easiest angle to reach, but it was difficult. I didn't have much light. A little too much from there. This is my base coat, so I am just trying to get this all the way down in there and all the little grooves and everything. I'm trying to decide if I want to mess with like the underside of this part or not. It's going to be so hard to see it, like looking at it after it's painted. Too much paint. At the very least, I can just do this and just get right into that little lip there. Okay. Right now the colors probably look a bit dull, but they will not. Once I do all my highlighting. Right now, just trying to get this main base coat on. And who knows, maybe he is Christmassy enough I can keep him out for the Christmas season too. get on the horse's body, but I'm not too worried about getting it on the hooves at the moment because I haven't painted those yet. Okay, we're almost there. Just trying to finish this one up. I think two coats. Might work out okay for that. And he's gonna have like a big orange pumpkin head with glowing green eyes, and that's gonna look cool. Maybe like some gunmetal horseshoes. It's kind of a dark colored armor. And a bunch of bloody heads on the back of his butt. Alright. Hey, it's 6:03. We went a little over. That's okay. Got some stuff done. I'm excited about the direction this is going. Turn off the lights. Move that work light out of the way. And let's switch back to this view, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you had a good time hanging out. I appreciate you being here. Again, check out patreon.com/shortliststudios or hit the join button on YouTube, subscribe on Twitch. I might try to get some more base coats, like things like on the ground, that kind of stuff that maybe are not as interesting to you. And I'll explain, at least at the very least, explain what I do specifically. So next time we get together. So thank you again. I'll see you next Sunday. Probably going to shoot for about 3 o'clock next Sunday afternoon. So 3 o'clock Central. So appreciate you guys. Have a great rest of your evening. And I will see you